Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Wildcard podcast. Well, gee, we had the episode 3 of the Big 3-0. Now we go into episode 3-1, and a crazy, weird week 3 and 4, I would say. Wasn't what we expected in some results. Some okay, but a lot of crazy results in week 4, especially. We'll talk about that. A little league news going to be as well coming down the pipeline. Got some big news for the Uno Commission team, and gee, it's the best week of the year, right? Week 5, it's do or die. Pressure's on. Thoughts on this crazy week 3 and 4 as we enter the final stretch?
Crazy for the right and wrong reasons, especially one specific match, which we'll get into, but um, it sets up some interesting scenarios for week five. I mean, we saw how chaotic intense week five was last year for Super League. Not quite sure if we'll have as same intensity, but this intensity is still going to be there, and we'll break that down and the scenarios to get through to the next round and our predictions for that. But KT, let's start off with the week three recap here. Had some good games here all around, but some interesting results.
Yeah, we're gonna start it off here. Really interesting. Let's start it off with more of this crazy one with Chamek and Brock. Now I'm gonna kind of go around the order here today. But for Chamek Brock, gee, we both kind of said this one was more of a toss-up game. Chamek really at the time coming in he was just looking to play some points, right? He knew he had a week 4 bye. So for Chamek, it was just about getting the point. And Brock, we thought, okay, it's WB. You gotta think now it's week 2. He get warmed up, but Chami did a great job. He hasn't done his split ammo though. I've noticed he's changed his style with no power play, and that's one thing I'm thinking of. Are guys changing their style with no power play? And that's Chami definitely changing up. He went more with the game flow. I talked about the game flow on Super League group stage, but he went with the game flow. Was up 3-2, just needed a closer in 15. But Brock rallied it back as he should, as a perennial favorite for the group but a lot closer than people thought, G, and that was probably one of the better games of the round. Thoughts on The Rock, though, tying it back up and Chamek now at this stage with 5 points, looking pretty solid.
I mean, honestly, with this one, I honestly think this is a bit more of a disappointment for Brock because I mean, this is the second match in a row where a lot of people thought he was going to be able to walk away with the victory and only gets 1 point out of it. And I mean, he was kind of struggling for the most part throughout this, so I was a little surprised by that. But I mean, if I'm looking towards the stat results here for a second, because I always like pulling these up.
Yes.
But um, I mean, especially for this match in specific, it wasn't really that crazy in terms of anything. I mean, Brock got a lot of skips, and I mean that was the real stat that was the most outlining. I mean, it was 5-3 on both wilds and plus fours, which I mean, like slight advantage Chomik, but still that's not that crazy. But I mean, was able to get a lot of skips, which is to me it just felt like he really wasn't able to fully capitalize on it, and um, was able to get a point, but I honestly think this is a bit of a disappointment for Brock, especially since he was up 2-0 and then blew 3 games straight, which killed any chance of a victory. Was able to skate by for game 6, but yeah, I don't know. I have been a little. I've gone back to the realm of disappointment with Brock that I was in for the first 4 tournaments of the season. So I mean, he needed to find something in week 4. We'll see if he got it. But I mean, for Tomic, I think this is an important result for him to get a point and not drop anything. Um, but I believe after this, he had one. He has one more. If I'm not
Correct.
mistaken, yeah, he has one more. Let me check the schedule again because I have it up, but I also
Steven.
don't.
He'll play Steven week 5.
Yeah, Stephen week 5. That is correct. But I mean, overall, I think it was a solid result for Chomik, but I think Brock was the one who lost more out of this one.
Yeah, The Rock will have to make a comeback in week 4 for Chamek. And as I said, G, we both were in Super League last year, racking those points up, man. Points hunting. You go points hunting the first couple weeks, especially if you got a win to your belt first 3 weeks, you're looking pretty solid, but we've seen stranger things in this league where just because you have a certain amount of points tally doesn't mean you're automatically safe. But speaking of a guy under pressure, needed to get something going in the right direction. It was Nam coming off that week 1 loss to Old Chamek and a bye. He had to find something, and early J looked pretty good 2-0, looking clean, looking fine, and then all of a sudden Ghost rallied back to 2-2. Ghost found a little bit of I guess a new style, played a little bit quicker as well, but just really was able to slow his pace down on the turns. Didn't try the 4-play, 3 plays as he always try to do the single double plays. As you know, G, you don't have to go the 4 command chain with no power play. There's no defensive power play per se. He slowed his processes down, but Nam found a way on split ammo, used a little split ammo and game flow himself to speed up Ghost in the games 5 and 6 to get the win. Big win for Nam. He puts 3 points on the board for Ghost now at this point. He starts to get a little nervous, right, G? Because you got to think, he's basically in the same situation as Brock. 2 ties, 2 points. What do you think he's got to do the next week to recalibrate? And thoughts on Nam getting the win in a big week 3 match here to get back on the board with 3 points?
I think a big, definitely a win that Nam needed. I mean, it was in doubt at times with the 2-2, but was able to navigate those last 2 games to get the 3 points, which, I mean, where he was at, he definitely needed. Dropped the week 1 match and then had the week 2 bye, but I also think that's kind of the benefit of that week 2 bye because, I mean, I think Nam got rattled from week 1, and I think if he played week 2, that could have been more trouble. So that bye took a second to like take a deep breath and just recalibrate, and I think we did see that a bit here. So able to get the 3 points there, was able to recover a bit from the ground he lost in week 1 and 2, and we'll see how he did in week 4. But I mean, this was a good result for him. For Ghost, not really what he was looking for. Could have possibly gotten the win or at least a draw, but just was not really able to find it towards the end. But that put him in a position where he needed a big week 4 because that was going to be his last match of the group. And I mean, at that point, he was at, I'm pretty sure, only 2 points, so not a great spot in terms of advancing. So he needed a big result there. We'll see what he did there. But Nam gets a big result, and that big result goes to need a big result in the next week. So we'll see how that all unfolds in a bit.
Yeah, interesting Group B for sure. Now at the time you're looking at, Chomik would be a clear points leader, right? Nam would be in second, and then it would be Steven, Brock, and I think Ghost just kind of hover around those 2 point tallies. So it'd be an interesting week 4 for those guys. And of course, I believe Steven was on the bye, so Steven, of course, had the time to rest up, see what he will do as well come week 4. All right, so the group now. This one, oh man. Uh, we start this one off with Sanford DJ, and this is unfortunately a precursor, I have a feeling. DJ lost in the first week, then took the week 2 bye. This is an example of you had the week 2 bye, and you think you get some lessons learned, but Sanford just had the number. In fact, if Sanford maybe played that first game a little bit more, no, whatever the game was, I forgot what it was, but whatever game he lost, he played that a little more clear. This could have been a 6-0. Thoughts on Charles Sanford getting a much-needed win as well, similar to Tom, to get the 3 points in? Yeah, the rough stretch for DJ right here, 0-2, and not looking the best.
I mean, I do got to mention also that was Sanford's first win that he's ever gotten in Super League. He didn't get one last year, and I mean that was one of the points I did criticize him on, but he was able to get the victory here. Pretty convincing victory as well. So able to put some rest on some of the doubts, but still had some work to do. I mean, got the 3 points there, and I mean he did get a big 5-1, so that does help with the game differential, but. He was still at that point, still at 3 points, and still in the middle of the pack trying to make it out. So we will see what he did in week 4. But I mean, for Curtis, this got slowly more and more out of hand, and it was not a great start. I mean, at this point, he was really in a spot where he needed to start winning, because ties were probably not going to cut it with 2 losses. But yeah, I mean, overall, I have not been impressed by Curtis so far in Super League, and Sanford was just kind of able to capitalize on the situation and get the job done.
Yeah, we'll see what DJ will do next week. And for Sanford, it's a big win, right? He kind of joked with old Monkey Boy there, Monkey Boy off my back. And
the ping for that was kind of crazy.
That was crazy.
A slight stray there, but it is what it is.
You know what, though? Gotta have a little fun with it. It's Super League. We're in Athens. A little Greek humor. Why not? And the last game, well, speaking of somebody that's just not missed it or has been on the beat basically since the start, Jesse Turner. Game 6, right? First 5 games, ammo war city. Both guys going crazy, him and Toast. And then game 6 really doesn't get much ammo off the start. Does a little isolation, and boom. It was over. I think this was a breakout game for JT because we talked about 2 things with Jetty. We both talked about this. One, he's a different player with no power play. Okay, of course. But can JT win a game where both players get ammo? Or it's an ammo exhaustion war? And he proved it here against Toasty where both guys were firing ammo all the way. I think the whole run up to this point, even the lane game, you got to think at this point, he's one missed Uno call away from that lane game from being a perfect 9, 3-0. I think this is what JT needed. Ironically, this would clinch him in. He'd be finished with anything in terms of scenarios. He's automatically locked in with the round 12 with the win. But your thoughts on just the dynamic of JT, of probably a top 2 or 3 player in his league with no power play, and how he's able to garner points, and thoughts on Toasty too. 4 points, not a bad spot to be entering his bye coming up in week 4.
I mean, I think I predicted this game to be a draw, so I'm a little surprised Turner got the win. But I mean, in terms of Turner doing this well in the group, I don't think anyone's really surprised. He was pretty much very much clearly projected to be the winner of Group A, and I mean, he's really in that spot right now. Um, he picked that week 5, which was a bit risky, but it has clearly been paying off right now. At this point in time, in terms of his points, I believe he is at what's it called? He's at
7 points.
7 points. So, I mean, at this point, he's likely making it through. It's more or less just about seeding, but um, been a very strong performance from Turner, all things considered, and again, just curious to see where he goes from here. But overall, been not really surprised from Turner. I think Toaster got a slight missed opportunity here. I think a point would have been huge, but it's gonna have to walk away with only 4 for now. But he had the bye week 4, I believe, so waiting week has that last game week 5 to try to punch his spot into the next round. I mean, I would think a win would probably get him in, but we will see how that all plays out.
Yeah, at that point, you look at the standings there. DJ in the basement, JT locked already. Then you got Elaine right on the bye. Not bad, 2 points. Obviously, Sanford will take the lead over Elaine with the win
Hmm.
in old week 3, and then it'd be Toasty guy in second. Pretty solid group right here. Not really much to say. But now we go to week 4G. I'm going to be
Oh
honest
boy,
with you.
oh boy.
That there was not one close game. Now there was sort of one, but even that one really wasn't that close. Let's start it off with Group B, and well, gee, I know you had talked about Steven being a guy. I remember you predicting him could take it to Nam, and then no,
It did not happen.
I was there. No, I too much. The thing with Steven, I think just too much talk. He started talking a little bit against Nam, and look, Nam has been he's been a player that he's got a lot of heat under. We talk about Nam. He's a young kid, right? He's a young puppy, as I call him. A lot of heat under him, but he rose to the occasion in back-to-back weeks and took Steven to school. He never really had the ammo. He was playing ISO games and playing KT classics. He really learned the style. Not just I'm not going to save him for myself. Just overall, the players he's played all season used that against Steven. Took him to school. Now at this point, G, you don't want to lose 5-1 in any scenario, but a 5-1 now off a bye. It's basically the DJ spot. Thoughts on what Steven's got to do to rebound? Now at this point would lock himself in with the 6 points.
I mean, this puts Steven in a tough spot, all things considered, and I think this game in general was just kind of some of the things he still needs to develop kind of rearing its head. Because I think Steven has shown a good plays here, but it's kind of a bit polarizing where there's a lot for every great play, there's a bit of a goof, I guess. And I think we did see that here because I mean Steven got up early 1-0, but then kind of completely lost the narrative from there, which was unfortunate to see. But I mean, this was just a big bounce back from Nam in general. I think I did have some doubts on the bounce back based off how his season went, but I think I was proven wrong in that front. So Nam was pretty much able to secure his spot into the next round here. He has the week 5 matchup, but that's pretty much just going to be where he gets seeded. Um, but I mean, for Steven, he's in a rough spot going into week 5. He's not out of it yet. Still has a chance mathematically, but not going to be an easy scenario. We'll go over that once we cover the other Group B game, which
Oh man.
was kind of a similar scenario, but I think with a pretty shocking result.
Yeah, this one's I was here for this one. It was a back-to-back. This group really has done a great job. I will say it has been scheduling back-to-back. It would be one game and the other. So there's no room for error on that. But besides the point, yeah, Ghost just was getting. We talked about this bot being very fair, and we were due for one. This bot had, I would say, if we don't count T5, where it was a mess, it wasn't the full vert. This was sort of the full vert. I would say out of the now 16 match, this was the only match where top decks were crazy, in a sense where the hands were just one side. We rarely see it from this ever. But Brock was just fighting tooth and nail. Ghost was getting everything. And talking about clutch, I hadn't even seen Ghost on the horizon. I thought, okay, Ghost needed to win to keep his season alive. Okay. But the problem is, I couldn't have factored it. Saw 2-5-1s in the same group on the same day. And we did the math afterwards. You told me that punch Ghost in no matter what happens. So, congratulations to Ghost on a big one. And G, at this rate, this is a perennial. But we talked about JT Brock being the two guys with no power play. I'm not going to say too much about this game where Brock just had no cardle up. But even the first two games, they're starting. He's turning into that. I guess you would say T1 through 4, Brock. There's some cracks there. What's gone wrong for Brock this run? And thoughts on Ghost pulling a rabbit out of the miracle race? Not even out of the hat, just a miracle rabbit to get the second, maybe third position, and he's automatically locked in to the round 12.
I mean, I think for Brock, some of it's been misfortune, but I also think a lot of it's been missed opportunities. I mean, I think there's a lot of moments I can think of where he likely could have done something slightly different reasonably, and be able to grab a game win to make a tie a win. Because, I mean, he has two ties and a loss right now. I mean, this would be the loss, and this is a pretty devastating loss, 5-1. But you just kind of think about the way those two ties went, and it just kind of writes missed opportunity on both of them from what I was able to see. I mean, you think about it, turn one of those ties into a win, and now he's at 4 points and in a much better spot to control his own destiny in terms of making it out of the group. But now he's only at 2 points, and second and third are both at 5 points with two game differential. With he and Steven both at 2 points with -4 game differential. So it's a really tough path here. He's not out of it, but his path is harder because he's not only got to fight to get a win, but he's also got to go up against Steven, who, if it goes down to a tiebreaker between him and Steven, he's going to lose. So he needs to find a way to break free and get a big result here because it's not really looking good for his chances of advancing.
Now Ghost on here, he'll we talked about this. JT week 5 bye, Ghost week 5 bye. They're going to sneak by now. Let's keep in mind though, Ghost with 5 points, he's definitely a candidate for 11th or 12th. That'll be a reseed. We do have to reseed those, but the fact that no one really had him on the radar, everyone thought Chapman for sure, Nam and Brock would be the three heads to advance. A lot of people thought that. Even I think I said that too. He snuck in. Congrats to him, man. He proved a lot of people wrong. Now, will he be tested when the 4 command chain will matter more if he gets to the quarterfinal? Because remember, round 12 there's no power play. But if he gets past that, then he'll start to understand. Okay, maybe I got to ease off a little bit. But that's another conversation for later. For Brock, we'll see. The only thing that Brock might have going for him is Nam, because we all know Brock somehow knows how Nam style works. So we'll see. But it's going to be an explosive week 5 for Group B. And now the top group, well, oh God,
Well,
G, we were.
which one do you want to start with?
We're gonna have to start with the unfortunate circumstance here. Look, I want to make this clear. We were 0-34, and I had just said the night before, man. Now I was not referring to this game. I was referring to double sweep in week 5. That, let's keep that on the record. But if you had told me that Lane Sanders was 0-7 and DJ was 7-0 in lifetime, and this was a blacklisted game. I actually have the list in front of me. Not in front, but I remember the list. Sanford game. This is a blacklisted game in the regular season. We're not supposed to have this game unless it is somehow the finale or Final Four. And if you had told me Lane just basically evened up that career record against him in one swoop and a 6-0, and wasn't getting. I mean, I reviewed that game like I do every game. If those starting hands that he showed me were correct in the old game chat, and he actually texted me. I texted with him and also texted with Sanford, of course. I know more of the Group A players. If he showed me those hands were correct, and he really didn't have anything, then we have to start the wonder, G. We want to talk about, did we miss on DJ? Because this is historically, but 3-15. I can't believe I'm saying this.
-12,
-12.
-12.
I don't even know where to begin. We may never see this again. Honest to God, this is one of the worst performances I have ever seen. I like DJ as a man, but let's not forget he technically had a negative record coming in. He was 29-30, right? He did have the head-to-head tiebreakers, but it makes us as a committee eventually when we get this thing going next year when we start to evaluate. It makes us really think. You know what? Maybe head-to-heads do matter, but they don't matter to that nth degree. We have to look from this from respect. How can we improve? We got this wrong. We clearly got this wrong. Congrats to Lane, but at the same time for Lane, he did improve his ammo control. We talked about that with the whole Tapir. I said that privately. Ever since that game, he's looked different. But to beat someone 6-0 G when you've never won a single game in your life against this person in Uno, to be 0-7, that's a incredible turnaround where I never saw any. I would never saw this coming. I'm just speed. I wasn't here, but you were here for most of this. I want to get your first-hand perspective because I DM'd Lane about. Normally, I don't DM any players about game after. But I just want to know what the heck happened here. I had DM. He showed me some of his hands, and they were not. They were great. They were not the best hands, but he found a way. So your thoughts on what really went wrong, and your thoughts on DJ and what we can improve next year, for possibly from a committee standpoint. Thoughts on that?
I mean, last year we had someone who technically played themselves, and even that was not a 6-0. So
Yeah.
the fact that this ended up as a 6-0, and this wasn't even like one that was like, oh, this person got 15 plus fours compared to the person getting one. No, there was barely any wilds in this game, plus fours or the
Yeah.
regular. It was a mostly numbers game with maybe a bit of reverses thrown in, but that was it. This I was I was the one who streamed this. This was probably going to be my only stream for Super League. I was kind of
Yeah.
flabbergasted throughout this whole thing. Lane kind of had an early lead, walked through it, got the 4-0, and I mean at that point I usually like throwing the question like, oh, okay, well, we haven't had a sweep yet. We haven't had a sweep yet in ever in Super League. Any thoughts on how you might want to get that? And Curtis, how do you salvage some games here?
Yeah.
And
Sure.
Game 5 goes around, same thing. Lane wins, and I'm like, I'm wondering if this is actually going to happen because we talk about there's never been a sweep. We never had a 5-0 before, so we've never been in a situation where we go into this game with the potential of a 6-0 sweep, and then the sweep ends up happening. And I mean, I just don't know what to say. This was not a good performance from Curtis whatsoever. Um, he did say there was points he didn't really get the cards. I do believe him on that, but I mean, Lane was not really getting a ton either. Sure, he had some
No.
reverses to get chains and whatnot, but wasn't like he was getting 3+4s on a starting hand. Wasn't like he was getting like these plus 6 combos to finish with like 12 card with like 10 card runs. Like, no, not really. I mean, the best Lane had was one random 6 card run when the game was already over. Um, it I was just kind of flabbergasted. I mean, we go to the point of the committee decision, and there were people upset. There were definitely people upset, and I think that's just going to be a natural thing with how the system works. It's very
For sure.
similar to March Madness and even the CFB, and hopefully I will not be upset when we come to that point if a specific team does not win their conference championship. But I
Yeah.
digress. Uh, but I think there's things that are debatable and whatnot in terms of, oh, but is this person better or this person better? But I also think there's situations to someone like these where like you see the result and it's like you have to take a step back and think like, okay, I think we screwed up on this one, and I'm gonna be honest, I think we need to take full accountability of this one. I think this was a screw up. And honestly, I think this was the first time we really screwed up on terms of someone making it in. So, um, honestly, it's a disappointment on the committee. I think we're probably going to be looking at how we judge the criteria going forward to make sure we can have full confidence, and after the result know that we have the X amount of players in this postseason format. Um, and we'll figure it out from there. But I mean, like, we were never really expecting. We were probably thinking a 6-0 could happen at some point, but I don't know if we were thinking it was going to happen in year two. And I don't think anyone was really expecting a negative 12 game differential. We did
Oh,
not see anything even close to that last year. I think the worst we saw last year was like -6, and I'm pretty sure that was a specific somebody we don't talk about. So, uh, yeah, the complete disaster. I mean, DJ is beyond eliminated from making it out of the group. Technically, he's the first player eliminated from Super League. but still has one more match to go, and it's going to be against Lane Sanders, who, by the way, even though Lane got a 6-0, he could still get grouped. That's the crazy thing about Group A. Turner with this result got himself into the next round, but
We didn't talk about that
besides
game
that,
yet. Don't
we
spoil.
didn't. Well,
Don't spoil
no,
it.
because by 7 points, he by virtue got in through because there was no scenario he could get eliminated in. So that's what I
We
was
just
saying.
didn't cover it. You're good. You're good.
Yeah. But I mean, the way this group pans out is insane. We'll talk about it in a sec. We'll talk about it in a second, but we'll go to the second match. But I mean, the last comment I'm really going to say this is, not the best look. We'll probably have to reevaluate how this goes going forward to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again. And I mean, yeah, that's really all I gotta say. I mean, 3-15 is just simply not acceptable. But
No, it's
we'll
not.
see what Curtis does in week 5. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't think a lot of people have any optimism with that.
No, you look. You look at the top of the group. JT and Lane. Right. We'll talk about that coming in. It's basically, if you look at it's 8 points from the top. So Nam is at 4 goal differential. Brock's at -4. Steven. Not to really be stupid here. It's just kind of it's 6 to minus. That's a plus 18, or I guess a -18 difference. That is mind-blowingly bad. We have to, of course, hold ourselves accountable. So we got to improve on the committee. We got to look at the criteria better. But at the same time, I know Art talked about this, right? Should we have went to 14? His 14. Look, I don't think Ard made a bad. Well, we talked about this, and we both agreed to this when we had the initial meeting. I don't think Ard had a bad plan. He didn't. He wanted double group stage. We've talked about this in the past. The problem with double group stage, and I said this before, is it takes time to run a group stage. It's taking a lot of time here. At the same time, if we cut this to 14, it would have left out the D2 champ, right? Next year, we'll probably we don't have an idea what format we're going to use. We like this. I personally like this. I think it's good. Obviously, D2 champ won't be here. I think with the new buy and all that, I said keep it. I think I told some guys probably we'll make a decision on that probably in an off-season meeting. But I am open to the future of saying, do we really need more people to make it a full grand? It's basically quality over quality. Do we really need 2 extra people to make it happen, or can we just say, guys, 5th and 6th, you know what, just play groups? Yeah, we'll look into it in the future. There's going to be some data now that we have it, but there is a case sometimes where I can see where Art's coming from. Yeah, less is more, right? And he's been a big stickler on that. He I know myself. We both debated. Okay, 14. There's also logistic things we have to figure. We are trying to make the calendar better. We made a mistake on DJ. Hopefully, he shows us just something. Because let's face it, if he, God forbid, he goes 3-21 with a -18, it's going to look so bad. We don't want to think about that. It's already bad enough.
That might be a historical all bad postseason performance, not even just in this league, but just period.
No, and we don't want to see that. But let's move on to the next game where, well, gee, how about congratulations to old JT? Not only you want to talk about the JT narrative, man. This man lost to Sanford pretty convincingly last year. No, I mean, yes, he played well, right? But then he 5-4s Sanford in March. He then takes it to him in T5-5, and then he just played him and then takes it to him 4-2. And this one, Sanford admitted I could have been more aggressive on Game 5, and I've been on the Sanford train all day. But Sanford's got to be better than that. You have the game wrapped up and theoretically in Game 5. You went with the old 6-card shuffle, as I like to call it. Throw it a little, but he's very good at that. And try to drop the algo, whatever. But you can't close the deal, and it's like, man, you just gave JT, who had only one thing to play for. That was to officially confirm the number 7 seed. Congratulations to him. And you just gave JT an all-time best Super League. Think about this, JT was one missed Uno call away in that lane game from 4-2ing him, and we're talking about JT with a perfect score, right? And a +8 G, that's not going to be top for a while if he would have got that. Now, 10 points, that's going to be very hard to top too. Let's face it. You have to basically win every game to top that, or tie him with the points and then do a better GD. JT did a great job. It's one thing to lose to someone and say, all right, it happens. But to beat someone 3 in a row, one's okay. twice something's going. Three, okay, there's something. He's figured something out. And this is JT doing it too. Remember, regular season power play. He did it in best of 9 in March, right? He did it in a best of 9. And then he did it in I believe, another best of 9, right? Okay. But that's with 2 power play. This one was with 1 and T5. Now he does it with no power play and a best of 6, and he gets the best of Sanford. What's your? I know you talked about Sanford had some concerns coming in, but your thoughts on what Sanford's got to do in Week 5, and is there real concerns on ammo control that we may have not seen with no power play? And your thoughts on JT with a magical track record run that will be very hard to top in the future if we keep this format with 10 points and a +6.
I mean, you mentioned it here, go easy on game 5, and that's kind of the thing I've been like iffy about all year. With it's like, I'm sorry, that's just not a great That's just not great decision making. Had the lead 2-1, lost game 4, and then decided to go easy on game 5. Which why there was no points guaranteed on the board yet. Lost
Well,
game
remember,
5.
easy on the ammo, not so much the mentality. He just was easy on the ammo. But yes, you're right.
I still don't think it was a great call, and I mean that put himself in a corner in Game 6, and he was not able to escape it. And instead of being able to walk into Week 5 with 4 points in a chance to potentially get a tie to get in, he's now walking into Week 5 having to win or he's out. So um, to me, this was a major lost opportunity for Sanford. I mean, he was up 2-1, needed to win one of the last 3 games. And I mean, especially you look at game 5. I mean, just going too easy on the ammo. That's just a mistake you can't be making at this point in the season. And walks away with 0 points on the board and is stuck at 3, currently on the outside looking in. Um, he plays who's he go? He plays Lane, right? Or no,
Correct,
wait,
Lane Sanders.
yes, he does
Yes.
play Lane. So I mean, he plays Lane in Week 5, having to get a win there. But we've seen how Lane's gone throughout this entire Super League, and he's currently sitting at no losses right now. Currently, 1 win, 2 draws, and Sanford has to go in there and get a victory. If he had to go in there and get a tie, I would have been maybe a little bit more I would have had a little bit more belief that maybe he could get something done, but I mean, a win is going to be pretty tough, especially since against Lane, who is coming off a 6-0 sweep, which has never happened before. So I think this is just a big missed opportunity for Sanford. And then, I mean, for Turner, I mean, what can you say? 10 points, very clearly claimed the number 1, the top of the group, and also is going to be number 7 going into the knockout stage. Congratulations to him. I honestly don't think this is a surprise whatsoever. I think a lot of people were expecting a big performance out of Turner in these groups, but we'll have to see what he does in the knockout stage here, and as he'll be awaiting for the runner-up of Group B, as that'll be his opponent in the first round of the knockout stage, which is
Remember
to be
JT.
determined.
Yep, and remember, G, we talked about that. We made the format. We talked about the changes to this format. There's no power play round 12. We don't see power play to the round of 8. And let's face it, you can play pretty much the same way in this round where you don't have to go those 4 command chains until you get to the round of 8. And that's a more quarterfinals record. Excuse me. I'm thinking of another playoff format. Wink, wink. But round 12, and it's still going to be JT's going to be on the hot streak. I'm really interested to see. Now now we can kind of get into the standings here. We'll talk about the Week 5 scenarios. If you look at the standings now, JT locked at 10 with a +6, and then obviously DJ eliminated. But then you got Lane, Toasty, Samper for 2 spots, and then for Group B, Naman goes through a lot, but I'm gonna be honest with you, G. Chomik has to avoid disaster. Brock and Steven, they got to go full. They got to get 5-1s. Now Steven will have a direct chance with Chomik playing him. Brock's got a really good chance as well because he knows non-style, but we're asking for a lot. It'll be interesting to see what we both say on these Week 5. It's definitely a lot different than last year where Week 5 had everybody in it, really. This year we have 3 people for sure in Group A, but in Group B, really, it's just that Chami doesn't blow it. I mean, he's looking pretty good. So it's definitely a different dynamic compared to last year. Of course, we had the famous game of you and me. We also had Peter versus Mr. Smith. We had Lyman's goal, winner would take all. We had a lot of winner take all matches. Here, we really don't. It's a little bit more. We got to get a lot of help to get the drama built in. So we'll see how that goes. But G, a little bit of some news from the old league. Now, obviously, we're in the postseason. We have a lot of news announcements coming. There's going to be a lot more. We'll have an all-season episode where we probably recap everything that's been changed. But we do have some new news, and we'll start it off with probably a new. You could probably comment on both of these, but this one for sure you can comment on. I think a lot more than the other one because the other one's more my choice. We talk about Sean Art with his media. He's definitely improved. We know Sean Art is the boss. What's going on, right? More that boss merchant, whatever. But he's done a lot better. And I think, the biggest thing for I'm gonna take a quarter of this. Ever since that incident happened with me, where I was just, unfortunate stuff happened. He's gotten a lot better. He's gotten a lot. Even when the new bot was introduced, he's gotten a lot better. Way more open and willing to work with the team. He's not just, I guess, as the kids say, glazing old KT. He's doing a lot less of that, and he deserves it. So I gave him, and short helped out with this Pro Check Prime Time. Not reality TV. Let's stop that. It's just an interview. I gave him the name. Obviously, I'm going to be hosting, but I think this is going to be great. We talked about trying to get guests on the podcast, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, it's hard to align three people's schedule on this thing with a little bit different, I guess, formatting. There is more of a, okay, we're going to talk about your life. We're going to talk about more about how you got started. League-wise, of course, is in there. Just anything you want to share. I think this is great. It's going to be on Discord stages. We obviously have Short did one, Gold did one, Sanford did one. I know G will be a little bit different one because we'll be more of a state of the sport address when we get to probably the off-season with D2. And then we'll talk a little bit about how he came up to the ranks. But me and Art have done a great job of really trying to build in a lot more in community engagement. G, your thoughts on Art, his evolution from when you first saw him as just a KT merchant to now where he's really improved his game for sure.
I mean, honestly, it's kind of just been a development over time, and I mean, you could equate that to both on the table and off the table, because I mean, we think about this last year. Ard in 2023 was the guy who just, I mean, you could say heat check, but I think it was not really a heat check at that point. It was just kind of getting mad, to be blunt. And I mean, it wasn't great, but I think you especially saw it this year. It's just kind of a growth from him, and I mean, you saw him getting less miffed or annoyed from results, and you could even equate that throughout the season because you remember specifically in March he was pretty upset about the Turner loss he had in the round of 32, and then come September or so, I mean his loss
Peter.
In September to Peter, he took it with grace. So I mean, you kind of saw that evolution throughout the season, and I mean even just with the work with commission. I honestly think the different assignments people get can really do help them develop with stuff, and obviously people do different things to what they can do and what their capabilities where they can help out around. But I do think just being able to do that work, getting that experience, could also teach you in a way different. I guess I mean I wouldn't go as far to say like specific like skill, but I mean just generally gives you that experience and like lets it like sink in a way, and that's something you could just apply to in your general life when you at some point eventually get like an actual job. Not to like try to diss on the league or anything like that, but we all do this. We do this all for free. So
Sure.
yeah, but I think for Ard, and especially with this new spot he's getting for next season, I think it's going to be good to see what he can develop. And I mean, he is a fan favorite for polarizing reasons, but I think a lot of people will be excited to see the direction that Ard goes in 2025 with the stuff he's going to be providing to the league for next season.
Yeah, he'll be with me doing some great stuff, great work. Going to be interviewing. He's going to be interviewing UG, of course, when we get to that. It's a little bit different type of interview. That'll be more of a state of the sport. Like, hey, what's going on with D2? We'll probably get to that in December, which we're going to try to do. I think you and him will probably collaborate on an interview with me when I give an overall view. I'm sure you guys want it. I'm sure people want to know what's going on with the league. Maybe get to know more about me, but yeah, that'll be down the line at the end of the off season, and then more. This is more of my take here. I decided to add Bad Brad. Obviously, Bad Brad is another fan favorite in this league. You look at when he first started the league as whatever the heck his World 3 was, my World 3. I was like, who is this guy? Who is my World 3? Right? And I was questioning. Oh, Yosha, I invite. Whatever. And there, I didn't really see him. I didn't see much of him, in the league. And then when he started to play me, I always said I have a knack for talent. I said, this guy knew when I was going to drop those runs. He could be someone special. And then of course he lost to M and maybe looked like an idiot. And then when he got those second lives against JT and Ellison, and when he won the Masquerade, man, this guy's really good. He's really active. I see him in the game channels a lot. He's always popping by. So I told Brad after his tournament, let's I'm gonna have some issues. I had some issues in July. We don't talk about that. But I said, I need you to ref some games. And I said, yeah, sure, man, no problem. And I'll never forget when he got to T5, I was like, yo, Brad, I'm with family. Can you ref a Carson Logan? This was like a couple days before, and he said, yeah, no problem, sure. His usual sentence, or his one word, sure, okay, yes. And he did that, and I didn't even have to ask him to do. He just pinged him, called him when he needed to, and did what he had to do. He helped a lot with the whole practice cups when Eli and his shenanigans happened, and Nam and him took over a little bit, and they're still going to finish out the season with that, with some cups at the end of the year when the Super League's over. And I was just really impressed with him, man. And you look at Brad; he's still a. I'm not going to say he's a full blown. He's going to be on the commission team, but is he going to be a commission member where, oh my God, he's going to like the work? No, he's going to learn the system, but he'll help with the reffing. He's a big guy in logistics. I know him. I think you know him a little bit more from the 12 community, but from the experiences I've talked with him, man, he's a very open guy. He'll do anything on a drop of the hat if you need it, and as long as you give him a notice, of course. And I'm looking forward to working with Brad. He'll be helping a lot on the logistics side, of course, with scheduling, and then with Caesar coming in as the big man in the ref department, which we'll talk about that down the road. I look forward to seeing what Brad will do. He's going to help a lot with the ref game. He's going to give us a lot of time. I know you guys got school. G's in school. Yoshi's probably the biggest one with reffing, and he's in school, so we've been giving him time off. I think bringing Brad, I think Brad is in school, but sometimes you're just able to be more of a more punctual and more of a effective guy on time management. Some people are like that, built like that. So I do respect that from Brad, and I look forward to having him on the commission team. And this really was my choice. I know you guys agreed to it. I know Fitzwater and Ard are the big investors in this league, in the sense they were the OG founders. They both approved of it really behind the scenes. So, G, your thoughts on how we're going to work with Brad next year and what he can provide to not just this league, but never know, maybe D2 as well.
I mean, I think a lot of the stuff he's done thus far will be more towards the reffing base. So I do think in some senses he's going to help Caesar out a bit potentially, but to be honest, I mean, this was more of a you decision, of course. So I'm not necessarily sure I welcome him to the team, but in terms of what he'll do, I mean, he could definitely help out with D2, but beyond that, not quite sure what he will do because I think next year we're going to be trying to do like heads of blank for different categories. So I'm not necessarily sure if he fits in one of those current categories per se, but he could just be someone that kind of just goes all around, kind of just like a not necessarily like an intern, but also just kind of like someone that's like you could just go to and then he'll be able to help you out with it. But we'll see. I'm not fully sure, but I welcome him to the team. I mean, it's always good to have more hands on deck, and we'll be trying to have more people in a hands on. We'll try to have more people involved. Maybe not specifically commission wise, but we are going to try to have something that will allow more people to get involved with the league and be able to be a part of it very soon. So just keep an eye out for that. That'll probably be announced in December or so.
For sure, roughing it, I think scheduling. So you got understand, I'm very good at scheduling. I could probably do this with my eyes closed, but there does come a certain point. We've talked about this. We've all discussed this. If I'm down or something, or just I'm busy, I would like an extra hand on that. So we'll see what Brad can do. I think he'll be big on the reffing. He'll be big on the logistics portion. But is he going to be the guy to? All right, guys, let's revamp the list system. No, he's not. No, he's not expected to do that. But we are trying to move into more of a international friendly league too. We have a lot of foreign players, and there have been talks about trying to have a 24-hour you can play anytime, non-stream games especially. We've been talking about. There's a lot of changes. We'll talk about that probably towards December. But we got a lot. This whole podcast next year, we'll probably have a dedicated episode before we start the year. The amount of changes we did, it's going to be a laundry basket worth of it. So I look forward to it. We've already made a lot of sweeping changes, and then should have more to make the game play better and make the league better, of course, as well. RG, it's that time though. It's the best week of Super League in my humble opinion in terms of do or die. We got some interesting do or dies, but let's start it off with our two games that have already been confirmed in Group B, which will be interesting. We always talk about the scheduling in the last one. Now, of course, Scheduling is discreet. Let's keep that in mind. There's a reason why we don't open up the scheduling to every player because, I can play this time and undercut. Yeah, that's why we don't. That's why we do it to make it discreet, so you don't have to undercut, especially for this last week. But let's start it off. Let's start it off with 6 o'clock. We talked about this, the rematch. Nam Brock from T5, Brock 142 and T5, and Nam did not have it. You know what, G? I think this is something where I think Nam is going to play hard for sure. But Brock has Nam figured out. He's talked about this. He just can't figure out William Brock's fade, and that's not an easy style to remember. I'm gonna go Brock, man. I'm gonna go with the Brock. He's more desperate here. Nam's already locked. I'm gonna go Brock 4-2. I think Brock's gonna take care of business. I think if this was a little bit different scenario, or maybe they were tied on points, it'd be a tie or something. But they're not. It's a complete different contrast. I don't think Nam's gonna have the mindset saying, "Well, I'm gonna try to show all my stuff either." I think he's going to play a little bit of poker, take it off the back end. I'm going to go Brock 4-2. He gets the win. He's more desperate for it. What do you think, G?
I mean, Nam's really fighting for seeding here, so a loss here could potentially knock him down a bit. But I look at this match, and to me, it kind of feels like I don't know. This feels like kind of a both sides. I mean, Brock needs a big result here if he wants to make it out of the group. So I mean, he's going to be going for crazy plays and going down swinging. So I'm just wondering if it's going to get to a point where he does moves that are like too risky. Like obviously, sometimes when you're like back against the wall, you have to do stuff that's like incredibly risky and can absolutely not pay off. And I feel like we could see that, and it may not work out. And I think he'll get ahead at first, but I think it's going to get to a point where Nam gets enough game wins on him to the point where he can't move on. So I honestly have this just as a 3-3 draw. That's going to kind of he's going to try to go out swinging, but unfortunately, he's going to end with only a single point, and
That would end it.
3 points in total, and that would 100% end it. Yeah, I mean, he has to win to have a chance, and I mean, a 4-2 is not going to be good enough.
Yeah, Brock needs a 5-1. I think it's his only chance. If he gets a 5-1, then it comes into play because the other scenario is Steven needs to win big, and he plays Chomik. The thing is, though, Chomik is directly in front of him in the sense that they're playing. It's 5-2 on points. I actually think Steven's going to put up a fight in this one, G. I really do. I think he's going to put up a fight, but I don't think Chami. All he needs is a tie. I'm going to have to say Chami's going to get the tie here. I think that's all he's going to need. Stevens had a great
I
Super League
mean,
run.
Chomik doesn't even need a tie. He just needs to not give up more. He just needs to not lose 5-1.
That's
He
true.
could lose 4-2, and he's still okay.
Right. Yeah, I haven't seen enough from Steven to say he's going to 5-1 someone. I just can't see it. I think Chomik will actually get a 3-3, and then he'll move on automatically. I think Steven. We talked about. I think we said. I remember you vividly saying in the pregame show when we did this opening show on Super League. If it was any other D2 player, maybe it was somebody like Goldie or background, Alex maybe, who knows? Depends on mentality with him. It'd be a little bit different, right? Maybe they would have a chance. I think Steven's got a lot to learn. I think his non-game was more of a welcome to the league moment. He did a great job against Brock and especially Ghost, but I think the luck's run out. I think Steven will end up the same situation with Brock where it's just not enough. Chomik moves on. It'll be Chomik, Ghost, and Nam. We'll see who gets the order, but I think it'd be Ghost would be third in that scenario. Nam and Brock, or Nam and Chomik would be tied and have to go to tiebreaker. So I'm gonna say Steven will get the tie, but it's enough for Chomik to move on. Now we'll do it, G. We'll go with tie here. What do you think? Do you think Steven can pull off a 5-1? That'd be crazy.
I would personally love to see a 5-1, because again, I do believe Steven is a good player, but it's a tough spot to ask for, and he hasn't gotten a win yet, and especially against Chomik, it's not going to be an easy fight. Like if we like switch things over and like let's say for example, for some reason Curtis was in this group and he had to go against Curtis, I would have a little more faith that it could be done, but you're asking for something he hasn't done yet in Super League, and also against a player like Chomik who's in a good spot and is a very good player. Um, I could see him getting out early, getting out to a good lead early. I'm going to go for a more optimistic prediction with a 4-2 win. I think he ends off with a victory, but it won't be enough to move on. Again, I think realistically a tie is more likely to happen, but I'm gonna go more optimistic for one of my D2 guys that go with a 4-2 here. But it's gonna be a tough battle for sure. I'll be very interested to see how that one goes. But I think Steven knows he's gonna have to. He's in a similar situation with Brock. He's slightly more favorable because he's directly playing this person he has to pass. Um, he's gonna just have to go out swinging and do anything he can to try to get a big result.
And that would do the same. That would be the same exact thing. It'd be Nam, Cham would go. We both would have the same top three, basically. It'd be interesting. I believe in that scenario, Nam and Shamik would be tied. Shamik would have head to head, and if the GD is tied, so that would be next tiebreaker. So you wonder who would get the 8, who would get the 10. So these next games, and obviously, of course, Ghost on a Bye is already locked in. I think he's locked into either the second or third, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So
Second or third,
perhaps
yeah.
yeah, he can't win the grip. So Ghost, if he is third, we'll have to see. We'll see what happens with the other group on Reese. We'll go to the next games, though. It's been confirmed now, or basically confirmed. Toast DJ will be the first game. We're hoping for Sunday at 7 o'clock, the day before Vets Day. Oh man, I don't see a world where DJ gets the win here, G. I haven't seen enough. Now, keep in mind, I don't want to see something where it's 3-21. So I'm going to say Toaster Guy is going to win this one. I don't want to see something like that where it's just he gets swept 6-0 because that's a morale herder, right? For not just the league, but we talk about bringing the best guys into the Super League. It's the one tournament all year where we have the 16 most exclusive guys, or last year was the 10 most exclusive guy. We got it right last year. This year, we got most of it right, but this would be an egg on our face. I don't want to see it. I think Toast will win 4-2, and he'll automatically clinch his spot in with 7 points. Give me Toast 4-2. I think the get down to Uno. Now, I will say Toast's style get down to Uno is some DJ can read and adjust to and adapt to a little bit more than, let's say, Lane or who he played in Sanford. But it's just an uphill battle. There's no momentum on your side. It's hard to really dig yourself out of the old mud pit. Toasty, crikey, man, moves on, 7 points. He gets the job done. What do you says, you?
I mean, Toaster Guy just needs to make sure he doesn't lose because then that opens a possible scenario where, especially if he loses like 5-1, that opens a potential scenario where Sanford. Actually, no, that doesn't actually because Toaster Guy has the head-to-head on Sanford. So
Correct.
I'm wrong on that actually. I mean, a sweep would be the only thing that would allow
Oh, boy.
Sanford to get a tie to move on.
Oh, boy.
So I mean, he's in a good spot, but obviously you want to get that extra insurance. But I mean, you're really looking for a win here, and then if you get a tie or a loss, it's really just kind of you're in a gray area. Because you already know Sanford has to go for the win or he's done. So I'm going to be in agreement with you though. I have not seen anything from DJ that suggests to me he can win this. I'm saying 4-2. I think he pushes it the game 6 at the end, but I think Toaster Guy will close it out and move on with Vindication to confirm his spot at least. Whether he be second or third of the group, that would be remain to be seen from the last match. But yeah, I mean, especially depending on how scheduling goes, this last match is giving very similar vibes to me versus you last year in Super League,
For sure.
with one side having the win and the other just needing a tie.
Yeah, it's as close as you can get. The only difference is I believe it was a 5-4, not a 5-3. But yeah, it's going to be interesting for this lane. You know, now I know they played a third place game where Sanford got destroyed, but he's just experimenting. There is no way in hell Sanford's going to experiment here. And I've been on the Sanford train since day one, man. It's going to have to end here, G. I don't see it. I think the problem here is Lane. I know we've talked about, Lane, we can get into his head. Yeah, we got it. We saw it. We got into his head against Radden. That's what Radden said. I got into his head.
Yeah, but Sanford is not Radden also. Let's make that clear.
And Sanford's not going to do anything stupid like that. I think this one just comes down. It's going to be the KTG. I hate it's going to be a tie, and I think that's enough for Lane. He doesn't have to win this game, and that's the same approach I took last. I didn't have to win against you. I could leave it up to game 5 or 6 and play the smart cards. And I think Lane's going to find a way to just play the smart cards here. And unfortunately, it's going to be another off season of Sanford delivers in the reg season for the most part. What can he
Uh,
do in the playoffs?
I mean, he barely squeaked in,
That's
but
yeah, but at least he made it back here. It's just it's gonna be another off season of what is for Sanford. I think Lane gets the tie. Sanford's done, and that would put Lane. I think that would confirm if Toaster wins. He'd be the last guy in at that group. So we'll see how that goes. So I'm gonna go Lane Sanders gets the tie at 6 points. What do you think, G?
I mean, if
Sanford win it off, pull the clutch moment.
I mean, here's the problem also, because it's one thing where he goes against what's it called? He's going against Lane, but you have to remember how Lane's Super League has been, where he just has like the away or homestand where he's just straight up like won every single game. That is terrifying to go up against when you need a win. Because if you sweep a specific homestand, then that's it. You have no possible path. Like if the first three
It's
games
over.
go to Lane, it's over. Those last three games, you're just playing to end the season on a high note. So that's something I feel like Sanford's got to be thinking about going into this game because, I mean, if Lane wins game one, I think the sirens have to go off because with how Lane's Super League has been, that has got to be an immediate red flag for how this goes. So for Sanford, he needs to get out to the lead early. That is an absolute must. That game one is going to be crucial. But I've seen how Lane's Super League's gone, and to me, especially coming off the 6-0, I don't see how that changes. I legitimately think Lane is going to win the first three games and close the door right away, and then Sanford,
Ooh,
honestly, I think Sanford is going to win the last three games, and it's going to be a tie. Um,
that's
I,
true.
I just, again, it's just kind of how Lane's Super League's been. It's been all or nothing. So I think this ends in either a 3-3 or a 6-0, and there is no in between with how chaotic Lane has been. I'm going to go with the less insane version and go with a 3-3 tie. But I mean, if this was someone else, I think this could be a different result. But with how Lane Super League's been and how insane he has been throughout this, especially coming off a sweep as well, I think the cards are just pretty much stacked against Stanford here. Or Sanford. I said Stanford, but I digress.
Well, you know what they say, G. They don't call him the insane Lane train for nothing. It really is, but now this would be interesting because JT would be a clear 7. Let's say it would be. I think I had Shamik tying, so it'd be a tie with him and Nam. Um, yeah, I think
I
Shamik
mean,
would actually get the top, so it'd be Shamik would be the 8. Then it'd be Toaster guy, it'd be Shamik Toasty in the old Pacific match, I guess you could say the
mm-hmm.
old our part of the world. So then it'd be JT in a rematch with not. Oh, well, technically they played a third place match, but it'd be the first real match. JT Nam, and then Ghost would have 5 points, I believe, and Lane Tapir. Oh boy. And then Ghost versus Brad. Your thoughts on that? If we get that card, that'd be interesting. Ghost Brad would be a California Washington battle. Wayne Sapir, I feel like has a score to settle for sure, and then JT Nam have a score to settle. Chomik versus Toasty would be, I don't know. That's legit two different styles. You got guy one that sticks it to Uno and hopes for the best, and then you got split ammo. You got JT who's a merchant in power play, and then Nam who likes Draw City. Lane Tapir is a score to settle, and you never know what Lane's going to throw up. And then Tapir, we talk about his Draw City as well. Ghost Brad, we got methodical. Probably the one guy in the next round is really methodical, has that KT smooth, Ashley smooth like approach versus Ghost, who plays the fastest in the West. Imagine getting that card, G. What's your thoughts on that card if we get it? Obviously, we don't have that, but your thoughts on those matches if we get it before
I
we
mean,
close it off.
honestly, you have an interesting batch of matches, but that's kind of what you get in the postseason as well. I'm not really going to dive too much into those because those are just all hypotheticals. Nothing is confirmed yet, but I would be interested to see how Lane Tapir goes. And I mean, there technically is a possibility Steven Tapir could still happen, but there would need to be a few results that go specific ways for that to occur. So
Right.
we will have to see how that all plays out. But I mean, overall, just kind of interesting way that this is panning out, and I mean, we got an interesting end of the group stage coming at you. So, um, yeah, going to be a lot of desperation and probably a lot of crazy plays that you're going to be seeing in week 5. So make sure you don't miss the action. Again, join the Discord server if you have not already to watch the action live and also catch one of our streams as well.
Yeah, thank you for the plug. And if you're JT Ghost, enjoy those pina coladas, my friend, because you got a nice bye week. Enjoy them off, right? Take the week off, and somehow, some way, we talked about the unknowns of picking a bye. They both decided to stick it in week 5 and came out big winners. Now they get an extra
I
time off,
mean,
and
this year it worked. It did not work last year. But
no, heck no. But you know what? Things are different. Congratulations to both JT and Ghost. We'll see him in the next round. JT confirmed a 7. Ghost, who knows? Could be the 12. Could be a. Who knows, maybe we can find a way to be a 10. I don't know. There's a lot of scenarios with Ghost. We'll see how it goes. Last week of Super League on groups. Then we'll have a fantastic. Well, kind of a frenzy finish. Of course, we are up the clock against things. We are racing against the old clock, and we do hope that will be fixed next year. I know we haven't had the best media sessions and all that, but you have to understand at the same time from a league perspective, not everything's going to run smooth. We do hope for next year to have more time on this format. It's been a good format overall. We'll have the next episode be round 12. We'll have the round 12 preview, a week 5 recap, and then we'll go from there. I think we should be able to do as well as a round of 8 recap, and then we'll do one last episode for the final 4 and finale, and then a season recap. That's kind of the pipeline. The next 4 or 5 episodes. It's been a pleasure to record this Super League first 4 or 5 episodes. We have one for the pre-show as well, so it's been good. First 5 episodes. Now or not 5, first 3 episodes, and we'll see how the last couple do. Jay, it's been a pleasure. Check us out on Spotify, of course, and Apple Podcasts, and our home base in YT. We'll see you guys for Week 5 recap in the round 12. We're getting into the brackets where Brad and Sapir will soon be unlocked as characters. We'll see if they can advance. And from all of us here, let's have a good last week. We'll see you guys back for a recap sometime next week. Happy Veterans Day. Have a great, safe weekend. Good night, everybody.